people hear that you're from Baltimore, a lot of times they'll ask you, what's the worst part? Where's the roughest neighborhood? What neighborhood was The Wire filmed in? So today we're going to take a data-driven look at what the worst neighborhoods are in Baltimore. Now I want to preface all of this by saying that this isn't an indictment of individual people in these neighborhoods. So anybody who knows these neighborhoods and has been to these neighborhoods knows that there's plenty of good people in these neighborhoods, but at the same time there's undeniable problems with crime, poverty, drug abuse, failing infrastructure, and a lot of other problems that urban areas in America are facing today. So today, in order to get to the bottom of what is the roughest neighborhood in Baltimore, we're going to look at 4 objective factors. Those factors that we're going to look at are crime rate, specifically murder rate, life expectancy, childhood poverty rate, and vacancy rate. The first factor we're going to look at with Baltimore neighborhoods is the homicide rate. Now, homicide's obviously the most severe crime, but also the one that the best records are kept of. So that's what we're going to look at. Now, here's 2022. As you can see, homicides are skewed throughout the city, but there's 3 pockets in particular that are notoriously bad for crime. That's a pocket down in the southwestern district called Carrollton Ridge and some of the surrounding neighborhoods, a pocket on the east side near Gay Street called Biddle Street neighborhood or Middle East, and then up in the northwestern part of the city you have Park Heights. Now these 3 are don't just show this pattern this year. If you go back to last year, you see similar pattern where you have a pocket of dense murders in Park Heights, you have a pocket of dense murders on the east side, and a pocket of dense murders on the southwest side. Going back to 2000, similar thing. Pocket on the southwest, pocket in the northwest, and then on the east side. Now, it's not to say there aren't other places that have crime. Unfortunately, crime's just about everywhere in the city. But if you're trying to zero it down to specific neighborhoods, these are the 3 neighborhoods that you typically see elevated murder rates. And this goes back years, probably decades, if we had the statistics. Another spot that's notoriously bad in murder rate is near Pennsylvania Avenue and North Avenue. This was ground zero for the Freddie Gray riots, and this is a popular spot to gather and unfortunately a popular spot for murders to take place. Going back a little bit further, 2017, once again, it's all over the city, but you see pocket in the northwest, pocket in the east, pocket in the southwest. 2016, same thing, a little bit more spread out, but still you'll see a similar pattern, northwest, southwest, east. So the next thing we're going to look at is life expectancy. Now, unfortunately, some places in Baltimore, some neighborhoods have life expectancies on par with third world countries. And if you look at this map, the lightest shaded areas are the places with the worst life expectancy, in some cases as low as 66 years. So once again, you'll see a similar pattern to the murder rate where northwest around Park Heights, southwest around Carrollton Ridge, then on the east side around Middle East, Gay Street area. Next, children in poverty rate. This is a little bit old, 2008 to 2012, but you'll see a similar pattern. One thing to note with this is this map is a little bit skewed. Public housing tends to have the highest child poverty rates. So places like Cherry Hill that have very large public housing complexes show up as, being one of the worst in childhood poverty rates. Same thing, east side, just east of downtown, there's a dense clump of public housing. So you see that on this map. Next, looking at vacant housing. Unfortunately, like crime, vacant houses are scattered throughout the whole city, but you'll see a similar pattern where there's a clump to the southwest, a clump to the east, and then a clump to the northwest up around Park Heights. So finally, what's this all mean if you had to break it down to what is the worst neighborhood? And this is coming from somebody who's lived in Baltimore for 10 years, so I'm also factoring in my anecdotal experiences in each of these neighborhoods. I would say that Carrollton Ridge and the surrounding areas are the roughest area. Constantly elevated crime rates, notoriously bad for drugs. And one thing about Carrollton Ridge that sort of sets it apart from some of the other neighborhoods, it also has a notorious arson problem. There's been dozens of arson fires there, including sadly one that happened earlier this year that took the lives of 3 firefighters. It was an arson fire in a vacant house, and the house collapsed. Going over to the north side, up around Park Heights. Park Heights is notorious for being one of the roughest neighborhoods. One thing that's changing about Park Heights is there's been a lot of demolition, so there's entire swaths of Park Heights that don't exist anymore. So some people would say that's a good thing that these vacant homes are being cleared out. Other people would say that it's sad to see the entire neighborhoods essentially being wiped off the map. And then over on the east side, this area that we were talking about, Broadway East, Middle East, Biddle Street, that's sort of the area that we were looking at that we're constantly showing up as high murder rate, low life expectancy, high childhood poverty, and high vacancy rates. Now, at the end of this, I'm gonna show a little bit of dash cam footage of each of these neighborhoods. Once again, I just wanna wrap this all up by saying this is not an indictment of the people, of all the people who live in these neighborhoods. There's some people who are great people in a bad situation and may not have the means to move out of a rough neighborhood. So this is in no way trying to talk down on them or say anything bad about them.